everybody. Welcome to another Film Seizure now playing. And for the second straight month, we are two-thirds. Actually, for the third straight episode, we are down some folks. Chuck is taking the week off, so we wish him well and all of that. But with me, Jason Oliver. Jason, how's it going?
It's going pretty well.
We've got, I think, a pretty loaded episode here to talk about.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I've seen recently that I haven't talked about.
So, yeah, so I think we'll do that. I'm, of course, Geoff Arbuckle. It's good to be talking again.
Indeed.
All right, so if you don't mind, I'll get things started with the A24 drama sort of thriller, Mother Mary.
It's kind of musical too, I hear.
It is kind of musical, kind of. It's light on music. I definitely will talk about it because the music is very interesting. But yeah, so Mother Mary is the new David Lowery movie. David Lowery did A Ghost Story. He did Green Knight. We were just talking before we started that Ghost Story is a movie that made my wheels spin in my brain for weeks after seeing it. I think one of those things that I kind of started to coin, my eyes don't know what they saw, but my brain liked it, was The Green Knight. Both of those movies, haunting in different ways. A lot of concept, a lot of ideas baked in there. And Mother Mary's kind of the same. I think for most people, they would agree. But this is, Anne Hathaway plays the biggest pop star in the world. She's returning to the stage after a terrible incident at one of her concerts. She has a very specific aesthetic that she does for her onstage presence, as this kind of character, Mother Mary. It's a little bit like the stage presence is a little bit Lady Gaga, very, very big production, but her popularity is very Beyonce. She's almost she's almost beyond reproach in terms of her, like she's universally known and she's universally largely liked. As she's kind of getting ready to go back on the stage after this incident, she kind of has a little bit of a breakdown. She decides that she needs to do something different. And so she runs away from from a costume fitting and ends up in England where she visits a past girlfriend of hers, played by Michaela Cole, who I think should get all of the flowers for this movie. She is really good in this. And Michaela Cole plays a fashion designer who basically created the look of Mother Mary. And they are now kind of seeing each other for the first time in some years. I don't know if they actually say how many years. And this first half of the movie is largely just these two characters talking in this barn, because this barn on this like palatial estate that Michaela Cole's character lives at is where she does her fashion work, is where she builds her dresses and stuff. And it's really kind of interesting because the first half of the movie is the half that I really was digging, because I was kind of picking up a little bit of a vibe of, oh, this is meant to be a conversation between God and Lucifer. Mother Mary is expecting adoration, not necessarily outwardly. She's not bitchy about it or anything like that. But she is used to people adoring her. And this ex, she says, she has her, they kind of just drifted apart. She's like, you wanted all of these things. I couldn't give them to you. I didn't want those things. And Mother Mary can only look at this ex of hers as, you were the one who left me. How do you think that made me feel? And so I was picking up heavy on some like early biblical vibes here. The second half of the movie is where it really kind of gets into a supernatural concept around like the things you carry with you from your past that you don't realize are tainting you in certain ways. And I think that's where things get a little bit, I don't know. I wasn't loving it quite as much as the first half. I think that there are some really neat ideas here. There's some really cool, like the difference between Michaela Cole's character, who, has this very earthy surroundings on this estate in the middle of nowhere in England, where she works in a barn, versus the very cold and structured Mother Mary performances where you see her on stage performing. There's really good contrast there. There's some really interesting music. I know we're going to probably talk about Charlie XCX again here in a minute. But she does one of the songs.
A few times, actually.
FK Twigs does some of the music. She's actually also got a kind of an important part to play in the second half of the movie. So you have some really interesting concepts here. I think it's a very interesting movie to look at up to a certain point. But I don't know. I don't know. I was kind of left feeling a little bit cold. I wanted to like it a lot, and I went in cold thinking that might even be better, because that really benefited when I went into the drama that way. It didn't really do it for me. The poster is correct. It is not a ghost story, which is funny that he put that onto the poster when he made a movie called A Ghost Story. But it is about things that haunt you from your past, that you want, because there is an element of, these two people are just going to fall back in love with each other. Oh, no. There has been change, and there is this kind of thing that stuck to them that is about that does become supernatural, and it is interesting. It's an interesting concept. I'd much rather this movie try interesting concepts and not quite work out than to play everything safe. I also wish that there was a larger role for Hunter Schafer. And I hate to admit it, she's given effectively the last line of the movie that's, I think, that's meant to be kind of like something really romantic or happy or cathartic or whatever. And I actually chuckled. I thought it was really hokey. Because at that point, the vibe had kind of lost me a little bit. So I don't know. I mean, 2.5 stars. If you are into the idea of a very artistic kind of slow moving, more of a talky kind of hashing out feelings, I think you'll like it. I think I can recommend it to you. But if you're just a layperson, no, do not.
Well, I think this is a perfect opportunity to segue into Julia Ducournau's new film, Alpha, because it is also a movie that reckons with the trauma of your past in your present. It is also very untraditional in its approach to structure and form. Relies heavily on metaphor. Very beautifully shot and acted. And it's I don't know if our listeners are familiar with Julia Ducournau or not. She made the movie Raw. She's French body horror filmmaker primarily. She made the movie Raw several years ago, and then she won the Palme d'Or at Cannes, I believe 3-4 years ago with Titane. And this in a strange way is a bit of a departure, because it's not a traditional horror film in any stretch of the imagination. It's at its core a metaphor for the AIDS epidemic, and it kind of tells the two stories of the AIDS epidemic. The epidemic as it's happening, and how just completely enveloping it is to a community, and devastating to a community, and then the after effects of the epidemic as medical science starts to kind of catch up to it and reckoning with the past. It concerns a young girl named Alpha. She's 13 years old, and she lives in a world where there is a bloodborne disease that very slowly turns people into marble, to the point where they start to breathe, exhale like dust, like rock dust, and eventually it turns their body and organs into stone and they die. And it's a very slow and painful death. She gets a tattoo from someone at a party while she's passed out of an A for Alpha on her shoulder, and it gets infected. And her mother, who is a nurse, is very concerned. She's afraid that it might have been a dirty needle, that she could have contracted this disease. So she's like frantically trying to get her tested in different ways to confirm that she's not infected. But the real heart of this story comes from Alpha's uncle, who is the brother of her mother. And this performance is one of the most harrowing and incredible things I've seen on screen in a long time. Tahar Rahim, he plays Amin, Alpha's uncle, and he lost something like 30 pounds for this role. He is skin and bones. He is he's an addict, and he has contracted this disease. And he is he's trying. There's a scene in the early part of this movie where he meets Alpha, or he's with Alpha when she's 5 years old. And then the movie, it jumps ahead in time, and she's 13, and he's coming back to live with them, and she doesn't really remember him. And you get this very strange structure in the story of this parallel between Alpha kind of almost unstuck in time. Like she's experiencing this present, but it's actually the past, and a little bit kind of this parallel timeline of her relationship with her uncle. And you're never quite sure until the end what has occurred in this relationship between the two of them, and the trauma that really is being represented through this story between the three of them, mother, daughter, and brother, uncle. It's the metaphor is very on the nose. It's not exactly super deep subtext, right? It's all right there on the surface, but apparently this is a very personal story for Julia Ducournau. It's kind of a processing of her own trauma from this time period when she was a very young girl, and friends of her parents dying of AIDS, and then kind of like that experience sort of being almost like a dream, because you're so young and you don't really understand it until you grow older and you process it and you really look back on it. And it's like, how do you truly reckon with something so traumatic, but that you have no real understanding of until you give yourself that distance and that time to allow yourself that ability, that allow that yourself that I guess that just just that kind of sense of understanding. So it's a very personal film. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. It works kind of as a horror sci-fi film if you just take it at face value. But I think the story structure is what makes it really unique, and also I think what makes it kind of unapproachable for your average audience. I would still give it 4 out of 5 stars. I found it quite compelling. I don't think it's as major of a work as Titan or Raw, but it is another feather in a cap of a very, very interesting female director working today. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, I recommend.
All right. You want to talk about an exploitation horror film that feels like it's straight out of the 70s?
What?
So I watched Dolly on Shudder, and I had heard of this because it got a very, very brief run in theaters, like maybe back in March, maybe late February, March, somewhere around there. And then I saw it get advertised for Shudder, right? Mm-hmm. And so I decided, okay, I'll take a look at this. Why not? I'm looking for something new to watch, and it's like 80 minutes long. So let's go. So this is a movie that is very obviously inspired by, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's got a little bit of like a tourist trap feel to it in some regards. But you have a couple, Macy and Chase. Chase played by Sean William Scott. It's good to see him pop up every now and then. But they go for a hike in this kind of wooded mountain area. Chase plans to propose to Macy. She's got some issues with with her mother, which kind of prevents her from wanting to get married and all of that. But he's got a little girl that she's, very, very close to already. So it's already basically a stepdaughter situation there. But in the woods where they're going to hike, we see this kind of hulking character that always wears this doll mask. And it's I can't remember exactly which wrestler plays the Dolly, basically. But yeah, it's this woman who, it's a large woman with incredible strength and the mind of a child, basically. And she likes to torture and kill people. It's a very, very Leatherfacey kind of the way Dolly acts, some of the mannerisms. And so you can tell that there's a kind of a simple person behind the mask, right? We find out later why that is, because there was a fire and she got scarred, and that it kind of changed the way she lives life, basically. But anyway, Chase and Macy keep hearing this creepy music playing, because Dolly likes to play creepy, almost like music box like music when she's burying her victims in a mass grave, basically.
As one would, yeah.
And so of course what ends up happening is that Chase goes off to take a look at it. He gets attacked, and then Macy realizes something's wrong, finds both him and the Dolly woman, and she ends up getting captured by Dolly. And then she wakes up in the nightmare house, of course, much like with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Dolly has dressed her up in a little baby doll dress, basically, and wants her to be her doll, effectively, like an actual living baby doll. And so and then there's this, of course there's a room that's got somebody else locked away in it. That's Ethan Embry, which is also awesome to see him show up every now and then. But
he was in Scream 7. Ethan.
Really?
Yep.
Huh. So he, and it's you find out it's one of those classic don't trust this guy in the next room. He knows too much about what's inside this house and how you can escape, because he's going to use you so that he can escape. Don't be an idiot, lady. I know you want to be nice, but don't be an idiot. But it's one of those kind of movies where it's while it is shot on 16 millimeter, at first I was worried that it was that added effects to the movie where it's oh, don't do this. Don't make it look like it's 50 years old when it's not. But no, it really is shot on 16 millimeter. So the imperfections are accurate in
most
the film.
of the time now. If it looks like 16 millimeter, it probably is 16 millimeter. Yeah. It's making an actual comeback.
Yeah. And it does make the movie look interesting, and it really does look like a movie that would have come out 50 years ago. it's also a pretty mean movie in that regard too. Like it's not interested in necessarily everybody getting out unscathed. It's also not very interested in having too deep of a plot. You have just enough to kind of move you along. There's a little bit of a psychosexual element to it. You know, it's like the idea that the grown woman is kind of infantilized, you know, and that's kind of played with in a, you know, it's not, it would be unusual that nobody the audience that would be watching this movie, that none of them would find that somewhat hot. I didn't, but I get what they're going for, you know. But it's, you know, so it's like, I don't know, if you like, you know, shovels separating jaws from the top of a person's skull, fingers being sheared off with bone cutting scissors, ears being mutilated and sewn back on. What else do I have here? Fists going through bodies, faces smashed by shovels, nipples being bitten off while being suckled, and at least 2 decapitations. This might just be the movie for you. I'm not sure it was entirely for me. I appreciate the effort. I appreciate what they were going for. It is kind of a bringing it back to, if, you know, if Rob Zombie brought back the hey, we can make some 70s style exploitation horror. This is following in that tradition, maybe not quite in the same way, but it is following in that tradition. I think I'd have to be in a very specific mood to really want to see it again. But it was okay. If that's your thing, you know, you can do a lot worse in this kind of subgenre of slasher. You can do a whole lot worse, on Shudder, honestly. So, you know, I mean, it's new. It's following a kind of a tried and true concept. If it's for you, go for it.
Nifty. Well, I think maybe I'll talk about another movie shot at 16 millimeter and in a 4:3 aspect ratio that should be in theaters now if it's playing near you. The new film by Pete O's, Erupcja. This, ladies and gentlemen, is my first 5-star movie of the year. It might ultimately end up being my second 5-star movie of the year, because the more I think about another movie I'll talk about a little later, I think that's going to ultimately end up being a 5-star too, because I need to see it again. But Erupcja, Pete O's. We're going to talk a little bit later about the Indy Film Fest and some of the films we saw there. But Erupcja is a directed by Pete O's, who is an alumni of this festival. We've shown several of his movies there. Last one was last year, The True Beauty of Being Bitten by a Tick, which is really good. I wholeheartily recommend that. So I don't know how easily available that one is, but hopefully with the popularity of Erupcja, it will get a little bit more availability, but I'm sure it's on your streaming outlets. But I'm not here to talk about that one. I'm here to talk about Erupcja. So Erupcja is, I guess, technically the screen debut of Charli XCX, even though a lot of the things that she was in this year, which is like, it seems like every other movie that's come out this year she's been in.
Or has something to do with it musically or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Came out before this. I believe this was her first film. But it is about a young woman and her boyfriend who live in the UK, who decide to take a trip to Warsaw, Poland. And the reason that they choose Warsaw, Poland is because the character that Charli XCX plays used to live there for a short period of time. She has friends there, and she gets the sense that her boyfriend wants to propose marriage, and he wanted to do it someplace romantic like Paris, and she suggested Warsaw, Poland, which I don't think many people would consider the most romantic place in the world. But she kind of has an ulterior motive here, and that is that she's kind of avoiding growing up. She's kind of avoiding this next step in this relationship. And she doesn't really want to, I think, be pinned down at this point. But what's interesting, really interesting about this movie is that they're one day away from leaving, and he is going to propose on their final day in Warsaw, the day before they leave. And he gets a text on his phone that their flight has been delayed indefinitely because a nearby volcano in Etna, which I'm not quite sure where that is, has erupted, and it's disrupted all the flight patterns. So she kind of takes this news a little oddly, and then she decides that night to leave their bed, go out in the middle of the night, and track down an old friend of hers, a friend who we've also met earlier in this movie. It's kind of like parallel stories, who runs a flower shop and who is kind of getting over this long-term relationship with her girlfriend. And she's kind of got her own shit going on. And then this old friend kind of drops back into her lap, and they just immediately go out and party. And it's determined. You find out that every time these two get together, it's around the same time as a volcano erupting. And it's become this bond between them, and it's become this excuse for them to behave badly, to put aside the responsibilities of normal life, to let loose, and to enjoy life, right? So that's kind of what happens here. Is they fall back into this whole pattern, and this boyfriend is just kind of like left to figure out what the hell's going on. I mean, she's not answering his phone calls or anything. And it's the way this movie unravels like this, it's just so unbelievably watchable. Charlie XCX is incredible in this role because it's very underplayed, but when she's with her boyfriend, you can tell that she's not quite herself. But when she's not with him and when she's with her friend, she becomes this vibrant, fun, energetic person. It's very heavily influenced by Pete O's inspirations, his influences with the Czech New Wave, French New Wave, specifically the 1966 film Daisies, which is a kind of a landmark film in the Czech New Wave. He steals a lot of aesthetic stuff from that movie, especially like colored gels and filters that rapidly change throughout the scenes, that kind of convey mood and in a sense of personality. It treats all of its characters, I think, very sensitively, and it's this beautiful kind of story about growing up and facing responsibility, and when we're ready to do that, and I just lost my audio. No. Can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear you, but yeah.
But yes, yeah. I quite like this. It's only 71 minutes long.
Really?
It is breezy as hell. It's got the sensibilities of an art film, but the watchability of a blockbuster. There's just nothing quite like it, other than like the thing I've probably seen the most recently that kind of evokes a little bit of some of the tone would be Anora. Okay. I think it would go really well with something like Anora as a double feature. It has a little bit of that cinema verite, that kind of freewheeling filmmaking feel, right? Like you can tell that there's a lot of improvisation happening, but not the kind that's super annoying. It's more of the kind that when it comes out of these people's mouths, it feels authentic rather than scripted, right? But yes, I can't recommend it enough. I can't wait to see it again. It will definitely be on my top 10. I can't imagine it not. So it's really fun to encounter a movie that early in the calendar that is going to be really tough to topple for me, I think.
Very, very nice. Well, before we get into the Indy Film Fest slate, because I think we got a lot to talk about there, you have some quick hits that you want to catch up on?
Yeah, sure. I got some quick hits. Documentary Children of the Wicker Man. Real quickly, you think that you've I don't know. I feel like The Wicker Man as much as I do. You think you know everything about the making of this movie, right? Well, you don't. This is kind of a wild story. These two brothers, half brothers, sons of Robert Hardy, the director of The Wicker Man, they discover this treasure trove of archival material that had been returned to them by a stranger from a house that he used to live in.
That doesn't sound like a horror film in and of itself.
I know, right? But it just so happens to be all documents from about a 4-year period around the time that The Wicker Man was being made. So there's all these production notes and letters and all of this stuff. So there's all of these new stories about how The Wicker Man was conceived, made, production hell, the producer interference, studio interference. It's really fascinating. But on top of that, it's really about a very unflinching look at their father, and how, in many ways, his obsession with making this film ruined their lives, or maybe not ruin their lives, but made their childhoods very traumatic. Robin Hardy had 7 children with 5 different women. He left both of their mothers, the 2 sons that make this. He left both of them, abandoned them. So they're contending with that and the trauma of that, of being abandoned by their father. They're contending with their relationship as half brothers and going down this journey together and digging up all these skeletons, right? Almost literally skeletons. But what's really beautiful about it is it's about the women in Robin Hardy's lives and their contributions to The Wicker Man. Specifically, I believe it's Linda Hardy, who put up a lot of money, a lot of personal wealth to help make The Wicker Man, and she has no executive producer credit. Her estate. These kids have no royalties whatsoever, but in many, many ways, she is maybe just as responsible for this movie being made as Tony Schaffer and Robin Hardy. So very interesting. I think in some ways it gets a little bit too much into the personal for me, but it's still very compelling, and there's a lot to learn about something that we thought we knew everything about. So yeah, Children of the Wicker Man. Also, real quick, I saw Normal, liked it. I saw Scream 7, didn't care for it. Although, I actually did like the first 2/3 of Scream 7. I thought it was going in a fun, interesting direction, and then the final act just shat the bed pretty hard for me.
Okay. Which is funny that you're here talking about that. Chuck's not here. He's the Scream guy.
I thought he's already talked about Scream. He didn't talk about it?
No.
Why wouldn't he bring up Scream?
I don't know.
That's weird.
Also, we just heard last month that Chuck didn't like Normal.
Yeah.
Kind of. He's the only person I've heard that didn't like it.
Yeah, I liked it. It's quite a lot of fun. It's like the it's kind of like the Hot Fuzz is what it kind of is, but more of a Copland meets John Wick meets Hot Fuzz, if that makes any fucking sense.
Yeah, maybe. What I know about it, yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
But I thought it was a lot of fun, and I thought that Ben Wheatley was a sort of inspired choice for it, considering his folk horror roots, because I think it is the most folk horror movie that's not a folk horror movie I've ever seen.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I'm pulling from the Hot Fuzz stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I saw Send Help. Absolutely thought it was a blast. So much fun. That's one I think would just be fun for us to talk on the podcast one day.
Sure.
There's just so many little things, Raimi things in that movie, right?
Yeah.
To kind of dig into and have fun with. He really took probably a script that would have been really bland and conventional on paper and turned it into the same Raimi film. And my goodness, it's perfect for that.
Oh, it sings. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much my big roundup, I think.
Well, before we get into Indy Film Fest proper, let's talk about the movie that we saw like 6 weeks early, thanks to Indy Film Fest. A film that I was, as you know, because you were sitting right next to me, absolutely charmed by. Top to bottom, beginning to end, everything about it. I actually just loved it. Caroline.
Indeed.
So this is a new film from, is it Adam Rehmeyer? Is that how it's pronounced? Rehmeyer?
Rehmeyer.
Yep. Yeah, starring, we got Samara Weaving, we got Kyle Gallner. Just a fantastic one scene appearance for Kira Sedgwick. A movie about, this movie isn't getting released theatrically until like June 5th. I urge people to go check this out. If nothing else, it's, all of Rehmeyer and Kyle Gallner's movies end up on Tubi or something at some point anyway. Watch it because, this is a movie. So you got Samara Weaving as Caroline, a Texas girl whose big dream is to go to South Carolina. Why? Because the mother that ran out on her and her father lives there. And she's kind of nervous about going out there because, she could go at any point, but she's a little nervous because what if I'm just like her? That's an interesting thing that I don't think gets explored enough in a serious, meathead kind of, well, I'm just like my father, blah, blah, blah. But like a legitimate, the fears of being like one of your parents. I think that's something that should get explored more often in a serious, dramatic way. Even though it does happen out there, it's not, anyway. She meets Kyle Gallner, who is he's a con man. He's a confidence man. He constantly pulls the thing that got pulled on me. I never fell for it, but got pulled on me more times than I could probably remember at the video store of, oh, here, I gave you $10. Why don't I give you another $1 and you give me, or whatever, right?
I can't. I've been trying in my mind to reconstruct that con and I can't fucking figure it out. I would be such an easy mark.
Well, so here's how it works. You give them, you buy something cheap and you pay for it with a bigger bill than you need to. Yeah. So like a pack of gum, you pay for it with a 10. They give you back 9. Then you say, well, why don't I give you, I'll give you $1 and you give me back, whatever, like 10 or, it's basically how it was. Basically, you're shortchanging them.
I know. But I was trying to work it out in my head, how it actually works. And I couldn't figure it out. I still can't. I need to put my mind at ease at some point.
Yes.
And truly figure out this con. But yes, it's essentially like confusing you with that back and forth money exchange to where the point where you end up gaining $10 instead of getting just a 10 back. Yeah.
Well, it's basically
you turn 10 into a 20.
You turn 10 into a 20 into a 50, or whatever. Yeah. And yeah, he's adept at this. And, he gets caught because Caroline knows what he did. Like, she's quick enough to pick up on it. You don't think she's quick enough all the time, but she got pretty good head on her shoulders. She's very flighty at times. She's very, it's like, almost like she's aloof, but she can pick up this stuff. She wants to learn how to do this thing because, well, she thinks this guy is rather hot and she's rather hot. So they need to be rather hot together. And tear the Southeast a new butthole with their adventures through there, which then ultimately leads to her wanting to rob banks. And it becomes a little bit of it's a Bonnie and Clyde thing that's almost like you start the movie off with somebody trying pot for the first time, and by the end of the movie, they're like shooting heroin into their eyeballs or something. It's like you can see how the excitement of this is getting to her, and he's more than happy to keep her happy. Yeah, and it's snowballing until it falls apart, and it all falls apart right around the same time that she finally gets to South Carolina to meet her mother.
Yeah,
and it's exciting, it's funny, it's sexy, it's a good movie.
Yeah, it is. Good performances.
Oh yes.
I don't want to get too in the weeds on it because there's one thing about it that kind of bugs me, but it's sort of necessary for the movie to work. So I give it a little bit of a pass. But yeah, the performances are wonderful. Riemeyer is a rising star. He really is. We're gonna cover his film 2 films ago, not the last one. Snack Shack was his last film, and that's great too. If you want a really solid, just like 80s coming of age story, you can't do much worse.
That's something else
much better than that one.
Much better. The one thing also about this movie, it's set in the 90s. It's shot like a 90s movie. It's paced like a 90s movie. It's acted like a 90s movie. It is like it came out of a 30-year like vortex.
And it never really makes it too obvious in the obvious ways that a movie would be like, look, we're set in the 90s. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's very downplayed.
There's no music cues that's like, look, 90s or whatever. Yeah. It's because all the music's from the 70s or the 80s. And it's it made me think twice, multiple times in the first act. Is this set in the 90s?
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's like, that's good. It should be that way. And it also reminds you that nobody today dresses that much far off from people did in the 90s.
Yeah.
Than we did in the 90s. So it was kind of a nice feeling.
Yeah. For sure. It was kind of like the beginning of that, just like fashion, like normal everyday fashion has become so homogenized in the United States specifically. I feel like, probably worldwide in a lot of ways in most like first world cultures, but yeah, you're so right. I can't really point at much style anymore in like the last 3 decades and say, oh, that was totally the 2010s, you know? This is not that doesn't exist anymore.
But in the 90s and still today, there is that kind of a little bit of a tip of the cap back to like a 70s fashion. Like Samara Weaving kind of looks like she should be in the 70s, but she just happens to be in the 90s, you know?
What I was going to mention is we are probably in a few weeks, I'm not quite sure what our schedule looks like, we will be discussing Riemeyer's Dinner in America.
Next week.
Is it next week?
It's next week.
Holy crap, that's perfect.
Isn't it? Well, that's why we did
it. Yes, and I'm really excited for you and Chuck to see that because it will be a first time watch for you.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies I put in front of Susan and she loved it and I wasn't sure. And so I was like, when Susan loved it, I was like, all right. I'm not crazy.
This is the real deal.
This is a real deal. Yeah. And Riemeyer's the real deal.
I think Susan would like Caroline too.
I think she would too.
Yeah, it's one of those movies I knew nothing about going into except for who was in it, saw it, and just loved it.
Yep.
Loved it. Looking forward to seeing it again.
So I want to talk about the other tentpole that we had at Indy Film Fest this year. It was the new film by director Greg Araki called I Want Your Sex. And I have no idea when this is coming out. Maybe soonish. July 31st. So we got this really early. The Greg Araki, he hasn't made a movie in, I don't think, like 15 years or something. He came back to make this, and boy, did he hit with a good one. If you don't know Greg Araki, he was one of the founders, I guess you would call it, of the queer new wave of the late 80s, mid to late 80s, early 90s. He hit the scene pretty big with The Living End in 92, and then followed that up with what is referred to as his Apocalypse trilogy. Totally fucked up, The Doom Generation, and Nowhere. Probably his masterpiece, though, was 2004's Mysterious Skin, which has got Joseph Gordon-Levitt and, weirdly, Brady Corbett, who has become quite a fine film director in his own right. But anyway, Araki, I Want Your Sex. Oh man, nobody does kind of like modern day sex satire like Araki. And boy, do we fucking need him right now, because, you know, you hear all of this about, you know, the Gen Z and their aversion to sex. They're not having sex. They don't appreciate sex in movies. It's like this weird Puritan turn, where sex
within the most leftist group out there. Yeah.
That where sex has become, cringe.
It's it feels like the last vestiges of what, third wave feminism, where it's like anything that depicts a naked body is demeaning.
Yeah.
They picked that up. They've adopted that in such a weird way. But
in all the wrong ways.
Yeah. Like that reminds me, I need to send you a video that I just watched on this topic. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I would like to see it. Well, Greg Araki said, okay, fuck this. You know, I'm going to eviscerate that point of view. And not only does he eviscerate that point of view, but he also turns his gaze towards pop art, modern art, and just absolutely satirizes the hell out of that. There's no romantic cliche that he doesn't obliterate in this movie. The old trope of the two friends who are they should just be together, right? Like they love each other. Why aren't they just together? You know, he absolutely destroys that cliche. It is so much fun. It's probably the most fun I've had at a movie in years. I saw this. It was a pretty late screening, almost sold out. Everybody a little lubricated. Probably lots of different types of drugs were consumed at this screening.
The screening,
at or before, yeah, I'm sure. It was a perfect environment for an Iraqi film. Like the queer community was out in force. It was just so much fun, so cool to be a part of. The performances are unbelievably good. Cooper Hoffman, probably the best thing I've seen him in. Olivia Wilde.
Cooper Hoffman's coming on strong here lately.
He's primed to break out. Absolutely. Yeah. He's so good in this.
He's kind of doing that same thing his dad did, showing up in everything, and then boom, he busts out. He's an Oscar winner probably in the next decade.
Oh, it's a satire of like the quid pro quo office relationship. You know, like it turns that on its head, because Olivia Wilde, she plays she's an artist who has a staff. Like, she's a very popular, like, modern artist, painter. And she hires Cooper Hoffman to be one of her stable of minions to do her bidding. And like, one of the things he has to do with another guy is they just stand there in front of a painting and they chew bubblegum and they stick it on the painting. Right. And that's like her art. One of her art pieces is them just chewing this bubblegum and putting it on this painting. So it's just this painting of chewed gum. It's so fucking great. But she engages in a in a relationship with Cooper Hoffman. And there's, of course, all of these like prerequisites before they engage into this. And she is his dom. And he is in a sexless relationship with his girlfriend, who played by Charlie XCX, who is almost unrecognizable in this role. And she's so deadpan and hilarious. It's got one of the great like stinger moments too with her character. But they break up and he decides to engage in this, to be the sub of Olivia Wilde's character. So it plays with gender. It plays with gender roles. I mean, it is the movie that we need in 2026.
Yeah.
And I implore everyone to go see it. It is so much fun. It's also like a send up of the like murder mystery. Margaret Cho, the whole movie is framed by Cooper Hoffman telling his story to two detectives played by Johnny Knoxville and Margaret Cho.
That's, oh my God.
I know. It's so good.
Isn't it great the Margaret Cho showing back up and stuff too?
Wonderful. Just wonderful. And I don't want to say much more about it other than it's wonderful. And now that I'm even talking about it out loud, I want to go back and give it 5 stars because 4.5 is not enough. Fair enough.
So I served as a juror. Now you're involved with the Indy Film Fest.
Indeed.
You're right in there. According to a slide I saw, you're in fundraising.
Yeah, that's funny. That's like the one thing I don't do there.
I see you in a bunch of pictures on Facebook from them. So you are literally a jack of all trades.
It's crazy. I think I'm technically on the fundraising committee, but we never meet. We should, because we need money badly. If you want to donate to Indy Film Fest, indyfilmfest.org. I'm a board member. I am the competition coordinator, which means I form the juries and I give out the awards, so to speak. And then I am also the programmer for the World Cinema Program. So yeah, I do quite a few things.
You're right. Well, you did a good thing for the Indy Film Fest because you selected me as a juror.
That's right.
And I was on the Hoosier lens because I wanted to see what was happening here in our state of Indiana. That's where Hoosiers are.
That's where
we have lenses.
We have lenses at the
I'm wearing contact lenses. They are Hoosier lenses at this moment. So yeah, I wanted to kind of see what was going on locally. And I have a couple of shorts that I want to talk about that I just adored. But when it came to the features category, there was the one that was the heavy favorite. Like it was like the horse that's like this, 6-5 betting favorite, right?
Yeah.
It had won at other things. It had won before it was even in its final form. Because it got re-edited and all that. Anyway,
yeah, that's very true.
And that one was fine. That one's the documentary about the guy wheeling around. He's paraplegic. He wheels around the state to raise money. Wonderful story, wonderful thing. To raise it for medical debt, that's so important because it can be used to buy the medical debt. And then they end up getting, the people end up getting a letter saying you owe nothing. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is.
Because yes, in this country, we are so rich, we have to pay off other people's medical debt because it's such a bad thing. Anyway,
we have to beg people.
We have to beg people to pay off other people's
medical debt. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like GoFundMe is 99% medical debt. Anyway,
yeah.
The other documentary was about the pandemic and how one family dealt with it. It was okay in the sense that it's kind of interesting to think back on all of the misinformation, all of the confusion, all of the, how is this going to work in a different way of life? The movie's also about 4 years too late. And I don't know. It was okay. There was
a neat thing we did at the festival. Well, I should say that Paul did, the director of that. He, a lot of the artists, because there's a lot of artists that are featured in that and how they were kind of making art during the pandemic and sharing that art. A lot of them brought custom arts to be sold at the screenings of the show. So you could kind of actually physically touch and see the art that these artists were making, during the pandemic. Kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean that's
I like adding that like fourth dimension to
sure. But the movie that I pushed for was the lone dramatic entry in the category, new high score. Elijah, is it Lothamer?
Well, yeah, Lothamer probably.
Lothamer. I actually got to meet him after Caroline and told him that I very much liked this film because I very much did. It is bare bones. It is micro budget, but it is shot in and around Indianapolis, starring Ruby Adelaide, who is really pretty good in this. But it's about a woman who early 20s. She's kind of out of her first real relationship. She's kind of aimless. She wants to get a new job, but there are things that happen, like her car breaks down or whatever. It prevents her from getting to the interview. So she's just kind of stuck in this rut. Every now and then she runs across people who are dressed like aliens. She doesn't quite understand why, but she just it's just part of what her brain and how she processes things. And you do find out later that she is processing something pretty heavy. And that is a coming date that's on her calendar that says new high score, because it references when her older sister committed suicide, and she will now be taking over as the oldest sibling of the family. And it's just, it's kind of it doesn't sugarcoat anything. It deals with because the whole reason why her sister committed suicide deals with somebody who was practically a brother-in-law to our main character. And, it's both of them dealing with what happened from the different angles that they were coming from, while neither of them being adversarial towards each other. It's this thing happened that we have to both figure out our own way through. And it's a really, really cool little movie. One of my notes was it was like, Kevin Smith if he made more serious movies at the start as opposed to boner comedies, not to say that there isn't funny things in the movie, because there are some really funny things in the movie. But it's sweet. It's, it doesn't, it doesn't sugarcoat things. It's, makes you kind of think about what this person's dealing with. And it was a bit of a wonder for me to see it. So, nice. And I actually kind of skimmed back through it a second time after I sent in my votes, because I was taken by it.
Nice.
So looking forward to seeing, more from writer, director, producer, editor, Elijah Lothamer. So
absolutely. And it will be interesting to see what he does next and how his career unfolds. And he, in his own right, runs a film festival. He's runs the film festival attached to Indy PopCon, which is pretty neat.
Yep, and we just missed seeing him when we were there on Friday of that weekend.
So I mentioned I run the World Cinema program. I want to just talk quickly about the three films I selected, my team selected for the program for World Cinema. The first one I'll talk about is, it won our grand jury prize actually for the whole damn thing.
Really?
Yeah. It was Pinch, an Indian film. Pinch is another one of those movies that probably its creator, its director, has a nice career ahead of them. Pretty impressive. I can't remember her name at the moment. Sorry, I don't have my notes in front of me. but she was writer, director, producer, I think even editor of this movie. And it's a bit maybe Uttara Singh. Uttara Singh is her name. It's what I like about it. I don't want to say this, want this to sound the wrong way, but a lot of movies that I screen for our program that come from India, they maybe want to put a bullseye on some of the patriarchal attitudes of the country, but they generally do it in such a way that it's so hard to connect with because there's no nuance, I guess, to it, right? And it doesn't feel real, or the characters that have a change of heart, that you would want to have a change of heart, are so terrible from the start that they just can't get to where you want them to be by the end, or they try to change them, right? This movie, I think, takes a really different tack with that. It's very approachable in the sense that this is something that I think probably a lot of young women can immediately identify with. The premise being this young woman is on a bus trip with her family, and her uncle gropes her on the bus, and nobody else sees it, and she wants to accuse him of it, but she's afraid of that her family won't believe her, that it's going to create all of this strife. It makes it even worse that he's not only her uncle, but he's the landlord for her and her mother, right? And her mother is best friends with his wife, so it's just like this really complicated scenario. What she ends up doing is they're in this crowd, and she's with him, and he's kind of like, it's really like one of those situations where you're in this really tight crowd and you bump up against people and people kind of get angry with you and they turn around and like, watch what you're doing. It's like, well, what do you want me to do? Well, she sees this opportunity to, I guess, frame him for sexual assault, where she pinches the bottom of the girlfriend of this guy that he's been kind of like having this verbal altercation with. So he immediately assumes that he did it. The boyfriend assumes that the uncle did it, and he beats the shit out of him, right? So this young woman gets this immediate satisfaction of this revenge, but in turn, it comes out that she's the one that kind of set him up. He tells the family what she did, and then she's kind of stuck in this corner. She's painted herself in this corner where she's the bad guy, and now she's going to be even less believable telling her truth. And while that sounds like a really heavy topic, it's done so depthly with humor, with a lighthearted grace, with characters that actually feel real, a mother-daughter relationship that I think most daughters and mothers would relate to. Very, very mature and well-conceived film by Uttara Singh. Be really, really excited to see what she does next. The other two I want to mention real quickly, they are very much my kind of genre films. Santa Zeta, very cool movie that played Slam Dance this year, about a travelogue blogger who uses her travelogue and her travel as a cover for hunting child predators. And it's very operatic, very bombastic. The way that each scene unfolds, it kind of like puts you in the middle of the scene, so you don't really see her planning, and then you're not really know why she's there or who she's after. But then it all starts to unfold. Does that very interesting several times over. Cool movie. And then Youth in Trouble. Santa Zeta is from Spain. Youth in Trouble is from North Macedonia. It is very, very fun. It is kind of one of those throwback 90s smart crime action-esque movies where characters kind of young characters kind of get in over their heads from multiple different angles, and then they all end up converging in one place at the end. Kind of has a True Romance vibe to it. It's in like 6 different languages. It's tons of fun. So I recommend that. But one I really want to recommend that is not in my program at all, that I think Geoff, you really like this movie. It's called Muscle Beach. And it is exactly what it sounds like. Muscle Beach in Venice, right? Venice Beach. It is this neo-noir bodybuilding underground supplement flick that is very Sean Baker, in the sense that a lot of the bodybuilders in the movie are not actors. They're real bodybuilders acting roles. Supposedly this whole thing came about from a documentary that the director was doing about Muscle Beach, and he was talking to all these guys, and he was uncovering all this really weird stuff about Muscle Beach. And he was like, they were all like, yeah, it would make a really good movie. Did I make this like drug running noir film? And he was like, well, why don't we just do it? So they made this really cool movie. The lead actor in this is almost kind of playing a version of himself, because he the premise here is that he has left Venice Beach. He's a very, 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 very good bodybuilder. He keeps winning all the competitions in Venice Beach, and he parlays that into a Hollywood career on a big movie, but it doesn't work out. So he ends up kind of crawling back to Venice Beach, falling back in with the old crowd, with his old boss who runs a gym and who sells supplements, of course. Like all these bodybuilders, they're all sponsoring supplements, and they're all competing in bodybuilding competitions, and the ones who win make the most sponsors and all of that, right? Mm-hmm. So it's this very like symbiotic relationship, but also predatory. Mm-hmm. But he comes back, and he's trying to find his old buddy from the gyms who he kind of left behind. He never returned his phone calls. He left him behind, and he's trying to find him again. And people are like, "Well, man, I mean, you deserted him, right? What do you think? He probably doesn't want to see you. He's mad at you." But what he ends up finding is there's this conspiracy that slowly unravels about this supplement drug trade and these overdoses, the mysterious overdoses that start happening. It is so much fun. It's so weird and cool. Like it has got a vibe to it that I can't even begin to explain. You just have to see it. Super cool movie.
Yeah.
Even the poster for it is intriguing.
Yeah.
It's
is that the one where
who's like right in the middle of a backflip?
Yeah, but it looks like he ain't gonna make it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, thematic as fuck.
Yeah.
It's just cool. It's a cool movie.
Yeah. So a couple of shorts I wanted to talk about from my Hoosier lens. 2 that I very much like, and ultimately were the 2 that came down to which one am I going to ultimately pick. I will say, one of the things that I had kind of in my mind was I wanted 2 things out of a short. Number 1, I wanted it to be short, at least in the way it felt. Like I didn't want a 15-minute short feeling like it's a 45-minute movie. And I did, and I wanted something that I did not expect when I was kind of going through when I was just taking them from top of the list to the bottom of the list. So the very first one of the shorts that I watched was Good Dogs. And what a funny little tale about like codependency, about kind of like there's a little bit of depression, like kind of poking fun a little bit about the depression that you put on yourself because you feel like you're not good enough. And it's the whole concept is owner of 2 dogs goes away, does not come back overnight. So the dogs have no idea. And the dogs are played by 2 women. And I especially like the fact that you could tell what kind of dog they were, because you have like a taller black haired woman, and you have a shorter curly haired woman. It's like, oh, one of them is a spaniel of some sort, and the other one's like a lab, or like a bigger dog. And they both kind of play up, like the smaller one is more energetic and is kind of a troublemaker, and the bigger one's kind of sweet and kind of for a lack of a better term, dopier. And it was a lot of fun because they ultimately decide that they were to blame for why their human wasn't coming home. So they need to knock their human's chocolate off of the top of the refrigerator, eat it, and kill themselves. And all they actually ultimately do is just trip on it because it's not enough to kill them. And then the owner comes home and they're so happy. And it was a fun little, nice little 11 minutes. That's like, this was the first thing I watched, and yeah, this is charming.
It's like the exaggerated emotions of a dog. Yeah,
exactly. And like the more troublemaking dog, like her eyes popped and she was like always like bug eyed. And it's like, we should do this and we should do this. It's our fault. And it's like, yeah. For people who have pets and one of them's always the troublemaker, it fits. The other one, the last narrative short that I watched was the one that I thought was just head and shoulders above the rest of them. And funny thing is, it was the longest one, and it felt like one of the shorter ones. That was Sleep Calm.
That's hard to do. That's really hard to do. And I watch a lot of shorts.
and you watch Sleep Call, right?
I did, yeah.
And it is the just focusing on the guy's face the whole time. Ricker Hyen?
Yeah.
And it's like, I had to look up if sleep calls are a real thing. And yes, of course they are.
Of course.
It's a Gen Z thing. Yeah. And, they go to like Reddit or wherever and they find people to just talk to them until they fall asleep.
Yep.
And that's what he wants. He's an insomniac. He wants to find somebody who will just be with him until he falls asleep. The first couple that he connects with are freaking hilarious because it always gets into the weird sex stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
And but the third person who calls or who like connects with him is this, and the person doing the voice of this woman is so perfect because it's instantly this is too good to be true.
Yep.
But you get lulled into, oh, she's sweet, I like her, and then it turns into a horror movie, and it's so good.
She sends like cute little drawings, and
yes, yeah, and then the drawings twist and turn, and it's it's a very human story, right? You want to see only the good in the people that you connect with, but that can be taken advantage of very easily.
Yeah, it's I found it to be a very compelling satire of just this generation that's perpetually online, right? The fact that they have to sift through so much inauthenticity to make
so
connections.
Much poop.
Yeah, and it might be doubtful that any of it is authentic, right?
Right.
And how easily you can be taken advantage of. How easily you can be manipulated when you think you find the thing that's perfect in this match, even when and all the red flags are there, right? You don't want to lose what connection you've built because of all of those things that just don't add up, and that and even when you question them, you feel like you have to. And that to me was the most heartbreaking moment. Was like he's like, I got to bring these questions up.
Yeah.
And then she gaslights him to death, and he ends up apologizing for for creating an argument. And it's just, man, it's very, very well conceived.
It says a lot about people.
Yeah.
And about how they connect. And because you could still make this movie 30 years ago and have him connecting a different way, like through phone calls or through somebody who you always know you will see if you go to your favorite store, to your favorite bar, to your favorite whatever. And yeah, they are putting on, you're not seeing the real person. It's like that's in the leap of faith you have to take to get to see and to share the realness can be a dangerous one, and it can be a scary leap of faith too.
Yeah.
And this, that was the best. Sleep Call was the best thing I saw of all of what I had to look at. I mean, discounting the wonderful little story about the pigs who jump off the pig trucks.
Yes.
I mean,
yes,
that's unassailable. You can't say anything negative about when pigs fly.
literally short and sweet. Yeah,
exactly. And I used to see the pig trucks when I used to have an office to drive to every week, every Thursday morning. There's the pig truck.
Yeah,
and I never thought about pigs being small enough to get through the slats. But barring that, Sleep Call was the best thing I saw. All of my entire category. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well,
so,
I think I've done it. I don't.
Yeah, I'm pretty well caught up now. Unfortunately, tomorrow is when I'm seeing Mandalorian Grogu. So we're gonna have to wait a little bit on getting a review of that. But I'll have that. I'll have Backrooms, and I will have.
When does that come out?
That comes out the 29th. So and then I'll also have Masters of the Universe for the next episode that we do this.
Boy.
Yeah, get a little bit of He-Man action.
Oh boy.
A little bit of Idris Elba Man-at-Arms action.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying not to think about Jared Leto. Anyway.
Oh, is he
Skeletor? Yeah.
Well, at least that fits.
No, Skeletor has a personality.
Well, yeah, but an evil one.
But Leto has negative charisma.
Well,
he has so little charisma. We owe him charisma.
It's so weird. It's so weird that he has so little charisma.
Right?
I mean,
anyway,
I don't understand it. Yeah.
Anyway,
he really is Jordan Catalano from My So-Called Life, like his first role. He really is that guy. He's
Paul Allen too.
He seems dreamy and charismatic on the outside. He leans so well, and then you get to know him, and you're just like, eh.
Yeah. Oh, great. He left another used condom in my mailbox.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Great. So edgy.
Anyway, yeah, edgy boy. Yay.
Yeah.
Anyway, next week though, we've got Dinner in America. So let's all make reservations for that. That'll be May 20.
Yes.
May 27th. Dinner in America. All three of us will be back for that. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to watching that film for the first time, especially after seeing one that from mostly the same people. So
Exactly.
So definitely my recommendation list is Caroline for sure. Jason, you've got a bunch of hoity-toity.
I got all these things.
You got all those. You got an international flavor.
Yeah, I recommend everything I talked about. I recommend to some degree. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily recommend Scream 7 unless you've seen Scream 1 through 6. Because
what if you've seen those and you're still not that interested?
It does some interesting things in the first two acts.
Probably not good enough for me.
I want to talk about my Scream 8 idea, though, at some point. I'm not going to do that now, but I want Chuck on for that.
Okay.
At some point in time, we're going to find an aside in an episode, and we're going to talk about my Scream 8 idea because I think it's really fucking good.
All right. Well, we can do that.
Right.
So anyway, next week, join us over at filmseizure.com. That's where you'll find all of our episodes. But on the 27th, that's when we drop Dinner in America. This upcoming Monday at filmseizure.com. My last film of the 80s for this month on Monster Mondays, The Stuff.
Ooh.
Got to get that stuff.
Got it.
Got to get that stuff. This Friday at my website, bmovieanima.com, I have a review of Missing in Action. I'll talk a little bit more about, because I wrote that review a while back, so I only briefly mentioned Chuck Norris's passing. I have Missing in Action 2 later this year. I'll get more into the eulogizing later. Anyway, so that's over at bmovieanima.com. All right. So until next week, when we make that Dinner in America date, I am Geoff Arbuckle.
I'm Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Film Seizure, now playing.